This podcast is a collaboration between Costard and Touchstone Productions and the Dads from the Crypt podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I am Alan Katz.
And I'm Gil Adler.
Today we have a guest, someone who he's part of the Crypt family. He's appeared in one of the original episodes of Crypt. He's appeared in both Crypt feature films and multiple episodes. Our guest today is definitely part of the family. I haven't talked to Bill Sadler in 1,000 years. When was the last time you talked to Bill?
Probably in 1,001 years.
There you go. It's funny. When I talked to Bill, but before we, before he agreed to do this with us, I was remembering to him that the last time I saw him was at a Todd Masters Halloween party.
Oh yeah,
out at Todd's studio, out way the hell out in the valley. Yeah. I forget what I was wearing, and I don't remember what Bill was wearing, but the costumes were remarkable.
Those parties were always great, and they were always Halloween parties, and we always met interesting people there. Either we had worked with them, or we wanted to work with them, and eventually we did work with many of them.
Yeah. Great fun. It's one of the pleasures of this business is that you work incredibly hard, but the parties can be amazing. so there's that.
The trouble is remembering those parties.
Oh well, yeah. Oh boy, yeah. Don't. That's a whole other podcast.
Right.
All the shit we forgot. As we said, our guest today is Bill Sadler, and what a lovely man, a terrific actor, and let's let Bill talk about himself.
Yeah, it's going to be a real treat for us.
Indeed. Everyone, here's Bill.
There you are. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
It's been a little while.
How
are you? How are you, gentlemen?
We're well. Knock on wood. We're both doing okay.
Yeah, me too. Surprisingly.
Where are you these days?
I live near Millbrook, New York, about 70 miles north of New York City.
Wow, so you moved back east.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's
you're from Buffalo originally.
Right, correct. Farm outside of Buffalo. So I was actually coming home. I'd spent the first 11 years or so of my career in New York City on the Lower East Side, doing the actor thing.
And doing a lot of plays.
And did lots of plays and Broadway and what have you before I came out west and tried to break into movies. So
actually, over the course of 12 years, you were in 75 productions.
Something like that.
Hey, I'm just telling what your press says.
Oh well.
And according to your press, you did 75 productions over 12 years, which means you can't hold a job.
No, that's true. I think.
Two actor types.
Really, of course they were all. Most of them were off Broadway things and a lot of regional theater. I did, the Long Wharf and the Yale Rep and Florida Studio Theater, and Trinity Square Theater, Repertory Theater. Wow. So I spent many years doing plays.
What parts really when you were really learning your craft? What plays really taught you your craft?
I think the one that taught me the most, I think, was playing Hamlet at the Colorado Shakespeare Festival. Because it was 1973, so I was 23 at the time. And it's a massive undertaking. It's a huge thing to carry on your shoulders.
How old were you at the time when you did your first Hamlet?
Well, that was my first.
Yeah. But how old were you at the time when you did your first Hamlet?
No, I would have been 73. I was 23 years old.
Okay, so you're 23 years old.
23, yeah.
And you're striding onto the stage, and the stage is where?
in Boulder, Colorado,
In
at the
Boulder, all
Colorado
right. So
Shakespeare Festival.
all right, so 23-year-old William Sadler is striding on the stage in Boulder, Colorado as Hamlet.
Correct. Correct.
Were you not intimidated at all to be playing Hamlet?
I was intimidated. I had played a lot of Shakespeare before that, but I'd never taken on something as big as that. And it just, what happened was about, there's very short rehearsal time. So you spend all of that time learning lines, trying to memorize these huge monologues, soliloquies. And I don't know, maybe a week or two into the run of the play, one night, the thing just lifted off the stage and caught fire.
Huh.
And I was no longer pushing this thing along like I had been, like just through sheer force of will, making this thing go forward. All of a sudden, I was swept up in it, and the thing was racing by faster than I could speak. Almost, it was it was an enormous light bulb went off in my head. Looking back on it, that was, I began to realize that the words will give you all of this emotion and this gas.
And what words? What words?
Just get out of their way, stop, just get out of its way. And
was there a moment in the play? Was there a particular monologue? Because he's got so many great speeches.
The night that it happened, it was in the play within the play. After Claudius says, a light. Okay. I'm going back to my room. I don't want to see anymore. Hamlet and Horatio are standing there with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and there's this wonderful exchange about, will you play on this pipe? I said, I can't. No, come on. I know you can. I said, no, I can't. I said, well, you seem to know my stops. You seem to know how to play me like a fucking musical instrument, you dig. And that exchange happened so fast and so viciously that the scene was over before we knew it. And I was thrown into the scene with Gertrude, which then threw me into the next scene, and so on. It was, anyway, for a young actor, it was a real eye opener.
Heady stuff.
Yes.
Wow.
I was like feeling the power of those words for the first time, instead of trying to make them into something that I thought they might be, or, I know what this should be. And
it's funny, the equivalent for writing is that suddenly the characters take over, and you no longer are writing them. Really, you're just typing what they tell you to type.
Well, that must be exciting then.
It's amazing.
You don't.
Which is why hearing it happen, from an actor's point of view is rather exhilarating, because the same thing happens. There's a, I don't know. It's well, first of all, when you create this other world, which no one else knows about, it's entirely inside your head. And if you have a writing partner, it's inside both your heads. And you escape here and you go there, and you really are transported to this whole other realm. And really, it's filled with characters who speak for themselves. Thank you very much.
And for the time that you're writing together, you're two psychotics trying to figure out what the hell we're to do when this is all over. But it's really interesting. You do
have the commitment
disappear into this other world.
But to listen, but you finally get to, once you get them started talking, there must be a moment when the person you're writing starts to speak for themselves and picks up the action and says, no, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
You watch.
Once you establish that patois and you get the sense of who that character is, they tell you what it is.
Oh, that must be fantastic.
And with Alan, we sort of go back and forth, and he'll say, well, he says this, and I go, no, he says that. And eventually something comes out of that we both go, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Do you guys play? Do you go through the dialogue, taking each of you taking a character so that you hear the scene out loud?
Sometimes
way,
you will play a scene. You'll suddenly it becomes an improv. Sure.
Right. Right.
Especially on Tales. Especially on Tales, we did that a lot. Remember, Alan? We used to.
Oh gosh, yes.
We'd be there, and we would take different roles, and we would just start, and then we would laugh. And
yeah, exactly. And you'd start improvising and say,
yeah.
What
just out of curiosity, where did you live when you were living in New York?
In the East Village on 5th Street between 2nd and 3rd. I met this young stained glass artist named Marnie Bax, and I married her. And she had a better apartment than mine. I was living on 7th Street between 2nd and 1st. And
have you been back there?
I was paying $150 a month. And I had to share it with another actor because I couldn't afford that.
Have you been back to that area at all more recently?
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable today. It's so regentrified, and
you can't go back again.
No,
Fillmore East was there, and the Gem Spa was there, and Andy's Cheapy Clothes was there. And it was a time and a place that now lives in, it lives somewhere else in my head.
Yeah.
But it was great. I tell you, it was great for a young actor at that moment in the history of the city, the history of the East Village. It couldn't have been a better atmosphere. You couldn't walk down the street without bumping into a playwright, or Michael Weller was over there, and Len Jenkin was over there, and everywhere I turned, somebody wanted me to do a play for nothing.
Right. Wait a minute, that was probably me.
I was like, that's exactly right. You just go.
Maybe we met in that. There was a great pizza place on the corner of Grand and Essex, I think. God. That anytime I go in there, same thing. I'd always meet somebody from the theater.
You'd run into somebody. Yeah. I would work at the Public Theater and the Lucille Lortel Theater on Christopher Street, and for the longest, for the La Mama, for the longest time, I could walk to the theaters, and then I wrapped it up with a year and a half on Broadway in Biloxi Blues.
Right, you originated Sergeant Toomey.
Correct. Yeah, and then out of that came the first movie, which was Project X, with Matthew Broderick, and I think I was cast because of my work on Biloxi Blues.
Yeah.
Now, when you headed out from New York to Los Angeles, what was your view of yourself as an actor? What, as you arrived in Los Angeles, what did you think you were going to be? I guess what I'm asking is,
I sort of felt like I had landed on Mars. None of this. I had won awards. I'd won an Obie Award and a Drama Desk and a Clarence Derwent Award, and so on and so on. All of this stuff and all of these years of theater. And I got to LA, and none of it seemed to matter at all. I mean, it mattered. I think it mattered at the end of the day. I think it mattered quite a bit to what I could bring to the screen, but it was very hard to get my first agents there to take me seriously. I had no film. I had no.
It is a testament to that. I think that your point is well made, because your theatrical training certainly gave you incredible range. If you look at your longevity in this business, you have worked a ton. Now, granted, it might have taken the film and TV business a few minutes to figure out what to do with you, and it seems like they decided you were a villain.
Yeah, right away.
Okay, all right, but hey, man,
it was the cheekbones and. Whatever, but I was
to the best. So
I was happy with that. If you can't be James Bond, be Dr. No.
Yeah.
You know, be, you know, be Goldfinger. That's the next best role. And there's a lot of freedom in villains too. There are no rules. You know, you can be as bad as you want. And it got my foot in the door. So I was.
What was your first villain?
Project X. I murdered all of those chimps that
You
Helen,
bastard.
I know, I'm so sorry. Helen
No,
Hunt.
no, you're not. No, you're not.
Matthew Broderick and Helen Hunt tried so hard to keep them alive. And then Steven Seagal's Hard to Kill. I was the villain, the senator who murdered his family. And then Dennis Hopper cast me in a thing called The Hot Spot. And I was a smarmy Texas, you know, blackmailer dude. And then Tales from the Crypt happened. The first episode with Walter Hill.
Right.
And
So
that kicked the door open.
You came in and you read for Walter.
I read for Karen Ray.
Mm-hmm.
She had me in to read for the cop at the end who arrests Mr. Talbot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing the audition, and it was like he has two lines, you know, Mr. Talbot, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, and that's it. It was cut away. That's all he's got. And I finished, and she said, "That's fine. That's great." And I said, "What's up with the role of Talbot?" And she said, "Oh, they want Ken Russell, or you know, Malkovich, or something. They're looking for a name. They want a name for the role." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I left.
But Bill
And I got
Sadler's the name?
Not at that
But
moment.
I mean,
I sure wasn't.
Your name is perfectly good.
My name, you have no idea how many times I screamed that when I got home. What the fuck's wrong with my name?
Here.
But I got halfway across the parking lot, and she stuck her head out the window of the casting office and said, "Bill, come back." And out the window, she handed me the sides for Niles Talbot. For the executioner. She said, "Black out your teeth and grease your hair because you're too cute." And come back on Monday. I'll put you on tape. Cool. You know, we'll see what happens. And that was it. I came back on Monday and they were all monologues. It was a monologue, and it was straight into the lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, back in New York, I won the Obie Award that I won was for a 45-minute monologue to the audience. I was already pretty comfortable with that.
Right.
And he has this sort of dark sense of humor about, you know, they're all pretty dark.
He's a terrific character.
And I just kind of leaned into it, and Walter and the guys all said yes, and I did it. I think we were up for an ACE Award.
In your mind, where was he from?
Like Oklahoma or something.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that was always my impression.
I think
so authentically from that kind of place. Wow.
I know. I don't know that there's anything in the script that suggested that, but I made him. No. But I made him from down there somewhere, and
he felt very particular. He was not a generic person. You brought some very, as I said to you the other day on the phone, your damned voice is locked inside my head. There's a easy peasy Japanesey. I cannot get that out of my head.
I like electricity.
Yeah.
There you go.
Clean. You know, there was such, and Walter had I think Walter had a wonderful time shooting it too, because he had done movie after movie before that, which were much bigger deals. You know, there's a whole circus that has to be coordinated, and studios have to agree on this and that. And here he had this little film crew. We shot we shot on an overpass overlooking the 405. We just stopped the van, jumped out and shot it. Do that monologue right into the camera and get back in the van. And it was just like guerrilla filmmaking for Walter, you know, and we didn't have permits or shit. And he just gathered, you know, a handful of his pals that do lighting and this and that. It was great. And he used to sit there. I'd come in the morning and he'd be writing on a piece of paper. He would be writing a monologue for me and hand it to me. I'd read it to him and he'd say, all right, get ready. We're gonna shoot it in a half an hour or something. And it was like, so all my theater chops, I guess, came in handy.
You know, John Kassir tells the story of the premiere when the cast and the crew went to see the first 3 episodes before it actually premiered on HBO. And, you know, it was, it starts to roll and 2 of the crew are talking and one of them says, wow, this is great TV. And the other one says, it's not TV, it's HBO. And the next row up were HBO executives who turned around and thought, wow, that's exactly right. And that became their slogan. And Tales from the Crypt. Right.
Wow.
So Tales was really it was what changed HBO, because they'd done TV shows before. They'd done First and 10. They'd done the Brian Ben show, which were TV shows on HBO.
Yeah.
And suddenly Tales from the Crypt was little feature films masquerading as TV shows. Yeah, it had the look of a feature film and feature film characters who were, you know, slumming for half an hour.
Amazing.
You, over the course of your career, and of course you've got an incredible career, you have played the Grim Reaper 3 times now. Is it 3 times?
I think so.
It seems. Do you relate to him?
No. I love the character that I created. I love and that was another one of those things where I put on this Czechoslovakian accent, which I stole from an actor, by the way, named Jan Triskin. And
do you ever occasionally send Jan a check or something?
I think I thanked him.
You take him out to dinner at least?
Maybe a box of chocolates.
He's passed now. I did a play with him at the New York Shakespeare Festival, and but he was from Czechoslovakia, and always talked like that. Everything was, you know. He said his line was, "Welcome to New Jerusalem. My name is Ran Singh."
Wow.
And I thought it was a funny accent, and I was fooling with it. And again, Karen Ray was casting that thing. Right? She brought me in. I told my agents, I want to do an accent for it. And they asked casting, and casting said, oh, no, you probably shouldn't. And I don't know why, but I did anyway, because I thought, well, this isn't going to be funny at all unless with the accent, I could read the phone book and people were laughing. It was,
yes.
Oh, it was like this whole character sort of popped out fully grown. And I did the audition. I went home. A couple weeks went by, and they went to what's his name? Lloyd.
Chris Lloyd?
Christopher Lloyd and Christopher Lee. And they were like,
kind of on the nose.
Well, he's the Grim Reaper. I mean,
they
didn't know who to cast, but they kept coming back to me because it was funny. And I get this phone call from Karen Ray saying, Bill, you have to go to I need you to come in tomorrow, but go to a Halloween store and get some gray and put it in your hair and black out your teeth because they think you're too young, and come back and do the audition again. And I thought, well, that's gonna look like crap. So I called Scott Edo, who was the makeup guy on Die Hard 2, that I had just worked with. I told him my situation. He said, come on over in the morning. And I sat in his kitchen in Marina Del Rey, and he made me look 70, like this. he made me look,
Damn. Oh,
he made me look a believable 70 something or other. I got in my car and drove to Orion and did the audition again. And the guys who thought I was too young turned to Karen Ray. She told me later and said, he looks a lot older in person. And so but it was funny. And that was, thank God that was that character just popped out fully grown.
She seems to have used that idea, Karen Ray, of blackening out your teeth and either making your hair black or gray as
I know. That's all she ever said to me was, "You're too cute. You're too young. But the one of the really fun things about that role, aside from the fact that he was very funny, was that he has this great arc. He starts out being terrifying.
Yeah.
Which was perfect for me. It was he's the most frightening figure you can imagine. And then he starts to lose all these, he loses at Clue, and he loses at Twister, and he loses at,
it's a funny notion that instead of playing chess as in
Battleship. And so
Bergman film, they're playing board games. That's hilarious.
But he becomes, right before your eyes, he becomes this petulant, spoiled, poor sport. He just dissolves, and whatever was scary about him before just sort of evaporates.
He's the ultimate authority to fuck with.
And they fucked with him, and he ends up wearing a dress. He ends up following them all around the universe. He ends up in the band, and all he wants to be is liked. He just wants to be part of the band. By the end of the thing, it's like he's all showbiz. So it was a really fun arc for that, for me. Anyway, that was, and then I don't know that may have squashed the idea that I could be a real villain from then on. After people saw that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm not sure I was cast as a super villain again after that.
That is interesting to look at it that way. There's suddenly that was such a successful movie that suddenly the town can't paint you the way they used to paint you.
Now they really don't know what to do with you. It's like they thought they had it figured out before.
In spite of that, though, you have managed to appear in a couple of classic movies. Shawshank.
Thank you.
Which is, it's just an amazing movie. It's just there's not a bad frame in that movie. Not a bad frame. And of course, Demon Knight.
Another classic.
And it has
Bordello of Blood, another classic.
And yes, and you are in Bordello of Blood too. That's sweet.
I know. I think, I always thought that Demon Knight was a terrific film. As we were making it, we were having so much fun. Again, it was like it was like all these kids loose in where were we, in a airplane hangar in Van Nuys?
The Van Nuys airport. Yeah.
Right. You're not in a studio. There's no one looking over your shoulders. We're all, playing cops and robbers. And I was 10 years old again on the farm, diving out of,
it was a great
dive and come up shooting with my BB gun. It was like I'd been rehearsing for that my whole fucking childhood. And there it was.
It was a terrific cast to work with. CC and gosh, I'm going to go up on everyone's name right now.
But Thomas Hayden Church.
Tom Hayden Church.
and Jada Pinkett. And,
Of course, Jada. Yep. A great cast. Charlie
Billy-
Fleischer.
Billy Zane's okay in it, I guess. I mean, he's all right.
He'll do. He passes.
He'll do. But yeah, that was what an extraordinary group of actors to put together in this funky little horror thing.
Yeah. No, I
How did you do that? Was that Ernest Dickerson's doing the casting, or were you involved in that?
I think we were involved in it. Ernest was involved in it. Our casting people were involved in it.
Dick Miller.
Yeah.
Oh my.
It was, it kind of fell together. I don't think there was any master plan to put together a great cast. I don't think you can ever set out to make a classic. I think that's one sure way to make an absolute failure.
To make a failure. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's funny, when we set out to make the 3 Tales from the Crypt horror movies, the mandate from the Crypt partners was 3 vastly different movies. And originally Gil was going to direct the first movie. And when Joel and Dick decided they wanted to do Demon Knight as the first one, we really wanted to do something else. We wanted to go away from straight horror, Gil and I, and do something different. And so
too much on the nose, it just felt like we had been doing Tales from the Crypt for a number of years. And that was just a longer version of a Tales from the Crypt. We wanted to do something that was more thrilling and horror, and more character driven. And so we decided, no, we won't do the first one.
Yeah, the movie in our heads was Nick Rogue's Don't Look Now, which is a psychological, really just a psychological thriller.
Yeah, but a very different animal than the creature.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, we were supposed to do a movie. The whole first season of this podcast is about how Daddy turned into Bordello of Blood virtually overnight, and no one wanted that to happen. It was a very different experience making Bordello of Blood than it was making Demon Knight. Whereas on Demon Knight, I think everyone had a really great time making it.
I think so. Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
It felt like to me anyway. It felt like a collaboration. I remember having conversations with you guys. I forget which one of you said it, but I would make a suggestion. I would have an idea. The handcuffs before the sheriff gets his head punched through. And I thought, if he's got his hands cuffed behind his back, then it's like the train is coming toward him. Is he going to get the key? Is he going to get it open? Is he going to get to a gun?
Yep.
And you guys liked it. We told Ernest, and it happened. But I remember one of you saying, I hope you don't mind me making suggestions like this. And I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, but I couldn't turn it off. Once I was in the character, it was like, ooh, and I did this with the Grim Reaper too. I think I've done it with every time I've ever been wonderful in a
okay, fair enough.
I go, no, but every time it's just been an outstanding performance. It's always full of these little moments that I go, oh, you know what might be great? What if and I remember one of you said, good, was it better is always good was the phrase. No, that's better. Better is always good.
Yeah.
One of you didn't think of it, but if it genuinely gets better, that was okay.
We had the pleasure and the honor to work for Bob Z. And Bob Zemeckis is the most amazing collaborator that I've ever worked with. And what we were doing was really a version of Bob's collaborative environment.
That was his style?
Yeah,
Totally.
Everyone takes ownership. Literally, you can bring an idea that doesn't work entirely, but you can't bring a bad idea. Right. And so everyone suddenly feels encouraged to hey, I don't know, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. And it comes from everywhere. You don't know where the great idea is going to come from. So why, hey, it's like improv. The word no kills everything.
Right.
Whereas yes,
Right.
and all right.
Try it. Try it. If it doesn't work, there was nothing lost at all.
Exactly.
No, that's so, I think that's, if there's a lesson anywhere in this, that should be one of them, because I've also worked with directors who micromanage and
Sure.
Where you don't feel that anything you suggest is welcome. And what you do is you just put your hands in your pockets and I'll do my, I know what you need. Where's the sink? I'm here to fix the sink,
Have you ever worked in a feature film for Bob Z?
No.
Okay, so the only time that you worked
No.
with Bob, the only time you worked with Bob was doing the wraparounds for Two-Fisted Tales.
Correct.
And that was now that was an example of what we're talking about, because that was thrown together so quickly. We kind of just made the character up. We dragged you in, and I remember at the A1 Globe Pasta Factory on Venice Boulevard in Culver City, where we did this, and really just slapping it together at the last second. I happened to we found. All right, I'm going to share the screen for a second. We're going to do a little editing here just so this looks a little smooth. We found it, and I'm going to play you.
Two-Fisted Tales. Damn metal plate! Cheered up. Look what I just found. Yeah, it's a pair of your wimpy old underwear. That thing blowed me into 100 tiny thousand pieces. That fucking hurt. I didn't cry. I didn't even whimper. Damn, I can't believe you fell for that one, stupid.
There you go.
You never took any slugs, did you?
There you go.
Oh my
I
God.
thought that was so much fun working that day.
Jesus Christ. I think I was trying to channel George C. Scott.
Was it Buck Turgison, his character from Dr. Strangelove?
Exactly.
Buck
What
Turgison.
do you think you're doing? You never took any slugs.
It was a great character. It breaks my heart that series never got picked up, because that would have been a fun character to write for.
That would have been swell.
So you also appeared in, well, we talked about Shawshank. When you got the script for Shawshank, did it feel like it was going to be that kind of movie?
No, not really. Actually, Frank Darabont was a writer on Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Frank.
I had stopped by to visit for some reason after the series was launched. And in that first season, I think, I stopped by to visit the set, and Frank came up to me and said, I'm writing this movie. I want you to be in it. It's called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. And he sent me a copy of not of the script, he hadn't written it yet, of the novella, the Stephen King collection of stories. And I don't think he was sure what he wanted me to play in it, but he liked the character that I had done in Tales from the Crypt enough. He said that was what he wanted, and he was going to use me somewhere in that movie. And to be honest, I don't think any of it. We all knew it was a strong story, but I don't think any of us realized at the time that it was going to resonate the way that it has with people, with audiences, just year after year after year.
To achieve timelessness.
It opened in theaters and closed. It died, and nobody went to see it when it first came out.
It's not a great name.
No, it's a terrible name. It's an awful name for a film.
Yeah.
And when you tell people about it, well, it's a prison movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, God, great. you know, and then it was nominated for all these Academy Awards.
Yeah.
So they brought it out again, and made it available. And then Forrest Gump won Everything in Sight that year. Good year for films, by the way. But it showed up, and then I think it was really discovered on video. I think people started to watch it rent it from video stores and Blockbusters and what have you. And then it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. It's an extraordinary film. It's hard for me to. I have trouble watching some of my early movies as I was learning this craft, learning to work for cameras.
Sure.
That one, that was really fun. And it's beautiful. It's beautifully done. There's so much heart. I remember thinking when we were sitting around those dining hall table scenes, when I won all the cigarettes in that bet, and that got Fat Ass killed. Again, there were all these little things that kept me engaged, that I could invest in the character. Things like I won the bet, and Fat Ass is screaming his head off, and here comes the guards, and I start saying, "Shut up, shut up, shut up," you know. Come on, I didn't mean to get him killed. I just wanted to win the cigarettes. You know, he doesn't know what's coming, and I do. And I remember sitting at those dining hall table scenes with James Whitmore over here, and Morgan Freeman across the way, and Tim Robbins over, and it's like nobody wants to drop the ball. Every single person there brought their A game, I think.
A+.
Also, just by the way, it was the only movie I've ever done where we rehearsed. They brought us to this prison in Ohio like 2 weeks before we started filming. And because he wanted us to have all the little connective tissue, the little relationships with each other in the group,
the body language.
All the little byplay and the looks and the teasing and the grab assing stuff.
So you wouldn't be acting it.
Well, like that, it would look like we knew each other for 19 years.
Right. No, I mean, it's one of those things where, it's the difference between being and acting, and being, the camera will always catch you acting.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
true.
One of the things that when I think of all the actors that I've ever hired and cast, I never looked for anyone to act. That's the last thing I wanted any of you to ever do. Please stop acting. Just be. Just be who you are, as honestly as you possibly can be, and that'll be perfect. Thank you.
I agree. It took me a long time. Well, that thing I mentioned that happened to me during Hamlet was the beginning of that. Get out of its way. Stop trying to make this something.
Yeah.
And
when Kobe Bryant was alive, the big coaching thing that they finally got him to understand was let the game come to you. Stop trying to impress your will upon the game. You're fucking everything up. But when the game comes to you and you step into it organically,
wow,
it will go where you want it to go. And lo and behold, that was really how he learned how to be the superstar that he became. He learned how to play the game.
That's great. I hadn't thought that it would apply to sports, but of course it does. You can otherwise you keep getting in the way of the rhythm. You get in the way of the flow. You get in the
taking shots you shouldn't be taking, man. That's a pass, not a shot. Pass that to the open guy and let make the shot that you're going to miss. I also began. This is sort of my philosophy of acting, I think, or movie making. That if you can get the audience to believe just a little bit,
they know they're in the movie theater. They're not gonna, you're not fooling anyone that this they're watching an accident on the street. But if you can invest honestly in what you're doing enough so that they believe just a little bit, what I've found is that they will come with you anywhere.
Yes.
You can tell them any story you want.
Yeah.
And they'll come with you to Mars. They'll believe that demons are outside the door.
Absolutely.
But they have, as soon as they lose, as soon as they stop believing that character is in that situation, everybody in the room sits back and goes, okay. It's like, oh, here come the demons. Yeah, that looks like a tough scene.
And the trouble is you can't get them back. I mean, once you have them and you lose them, it's really almost impossible to get them back.
Yeah.
Our species loves being told stories. I think we're the only animal that I know of that tells stories to each other. But
well, that we know of.
That we know of, yes. I'd love to know
woodchucks or something. Whales probably tell each other stories too.
God, I hope so. I hope that's true. I really, really, really do. But and when we tell each other stories, we want it to. It's got to reflect the reality that we know. If it's characters that don't feel real, what world are you responding?
I also think we all have built into us this sort of built-in crap detectors. We're so good. Our whole lives are spent, people trying to sell us things and get us to do this or get us to do that. And we're usually pretty good at spotting the tells.
Indeed.
But when something happens in a movie that's real, Julia Roberts, when he snaps that thing shut, the necklace is in a little box, and what's his name snaps it shut, and she squeals and laughs, and he surprised her with it. He absolutely surprised her with it. She wasn't expecting it, and they told her to do it. They told him to do it, and it's just as brilliant. You fall in love with her all over again in that moment because it's
so honest.
Yeah, it's just completely honest. It's just this naked little moment of sweetness that you can't, and no one can deny it. You can't
act it. You certainly can't act that moment.
Well, that's what happens that's what happens with movies where you're sitting there and all of a sudden it's over and you're going, I thought it was an hour and a half movie, and you're realizing it. Yes, it was an hour and a half movie, but you were absorbed. You were totally absorbed in the characters, and you were invested in what they were thinking and feeling, and you were feeling what they're feeling.
You came along. You came along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really came along for the ride.
Yeah.
And worried about what was going to happen to them at the end.
This is our challenge. This is what we all do for a living. We're storytellers, and we come at the story from slightly different angles, but ultimately the goal is to tell stories that audiences
that move people. People recognize themselves in
that they're in. Suddenly they are taken up into it.
Let me ask you this question, oh wise ones. What is it about horror? That you must understand this better than I do, because scary movies scare me. I especially good ones. I get too scared to enjoy them. What is it in the human creatures in this society that makes us flock to see a movie that scares the crap out of you? The popcorn hits the ceiling and you scream,
I think at the end of the day, you get to have, of all of our instincts, love, fear is incredibly strong, and we don't want to experience it
for real
because you know how that's going to turn out. But when you're sitting in a movie theater, it's kind of safe to feel that feeling with the comfort of the popcorn on your lap, knowing that within the context of the movie theater, nothing bad is going to happen to you.
Yeah, you got 500 of your closest friends sitting to your left and to your right.
Yeah,
I'm safe.
Yeah, but it's Yeah.
I guess I don't. Wow, I don't like being frightened like that. It makes me feel I get so nervous, and then I'll carry it around with me for the next 2 weeks. I won't be able to go in the basement to get the laundry. I'll just like, oh shit, I gotta turn the lights on, and I'll do this tomorrow in the daylight.
I think Gil and I always approach, well, certainly Tales from the Crypt. We always saw it as black comedy first and foremost, and horror second. Yeah, I mean the EC comics were little morality tales where the bad person is going to get it in the worst, most ironic, most disgusting way possible.
Right.
Well,
I
hey,
used to always be asking for more blood because
Yeah.
I go.
Who was it?
I
Who
would
was
be
asking?
I would be asking for more blood because
More
when
blood?
they do the blood, the mechanical effects guys, I would go, what is that? That's neither here nor there. Either don't show the blood or show the blood. I want more blood. And then I would go, what color is this? This isn't blood. This looks orange to me. This doesn't look like blood.
we
And
want
they'd have these
the
arguments about
elevator
the
scene from The Shining, you bastards.
Wow. I love those demons that Todd Master came up with. That
Oh, yeah.
their legs bent the wrong way, and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
he, nipple rings, and holy crap, just they were fabulous. I thought some of those things were great. I love that thing where where Billy Zane pulls the curtain back and Jada Pinkett sees me on the wall.
Mhm.
And the way they did that was, well, you remember, there was like they built a plywood platform and cut a hole in it,
Right.
and had me lay down so that part of me sank into the hole.
Right.
Yes, right.
And then Todd built this chest and abdomen out of latex that was torn open.
For your last scene in the movie.
Right, when they put the camera straight up above,
Yeah.
looking down at it.
Wait a minute. That wasn't really you, Todd Masters?
No,
always
it
said
wasn't.
you.
That
That's
was
always been-
acting.
He said to me, "There was no."
I
no
was
take
acting
two.
as good as much as I could.
He said to me, "There's no take two." Billy's.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna tear him. We're gonna tear him in half.
That was your last day on the movie. Well,
Right.
What do you want?
No, it wasn't. No, it was when the kid stuck his tongue in my chest or whatever. I remember telling Ernest. By that time, we'd been through hell and back. We had the truckloads of dirt that smelled like pig shit. And
God, yes. Oh
We
my
had
God. Oh God. That
pigeons.
was how not to make a movie. Good God.
How not to make a movie. They had pigeons in the rafters that they had to fire off blanks to scare the pigeons away so that we could, and then say action.
Right. But the earth that they found for the World War I battle scene.
Right.
Yeah, the World War I battle scene. I don't know. They found manure. They found
did.
Oh, it was authentic. It was authentic dirt from World War I.
Yeah.
It was
dirt.
authentic.
Oh my
Yeah. It smelled like it.
Yeah.
I remember walking into the room that day and it was like, holy Toledo.
Yeah. Shit.
This is what the.
Yeah. It was
I think they had to remove it all and get clean dirt.
We
if I'm
did.
not
Yes.
mistaken.
That was an expensive mistake.
Yeah, it was an attempt to save on the craft service and on the caterer.
Worked like a charm,
It was dirt cheap.
Oh.
as it were. This has been wonderful spending the time with you, Bill. There's one more question that we have. You have worked with so many amazing people over the course of your career. I mean, just so many. You know, as I look at all the people that I've gotten to work with, it's funny, the person who to me was like, wow, that's the ultimate person that I got to work with. That guy, for me, it was Buck Henry, because I'm a writer and he wrote The
wow.
Graduate.
Oh, wow.
And so hiring Buck Henry for Tales from the Crypt and putting words into Buck Henry's mouth, that
Right.
to me was, wow, okay, I can die a happy man now.
No.
I don't know did you ever have someone, Gil, who all the people you've ever worked with who's like,
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny as you're mentioning this. All of a sudden, I'm and I haven't thought about him for 100 years. Was Donald O'Connor? when I met Donald O'Connor,
Yeah.
You worked with Donald O'Connor?
On Crypt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was-
he did a Crypt.
he did a Tales. And so I was sitting next to him and I was just blown away. I was sitting here thinking to myself, this is the guy from Singing in the Rain and on and on.
Yeah, right.
Make
I'm
him
sitting
laugh.
next to him.
Make him laugh, guy.
And we're having coffee and talking about crime and talking about blood. And I'm talking to Donald O'Connor. It was like, it was surreal for me.
Wow.
Who is yours, Bill?
Then I guess it might be Morgan Freeman. It was just, I was, worked with Al Pacino. I mean, the people that you have to pinch yourself and say,
Yeah.
holy shit, I'm doing this scene with.
Yeah.
I just did an HBO miniseries with Steven Soderbergh directing, called Full Circle, and Dennis Quaid plays my brother. That was fun. But Claire Danes and I had these knockdown, drag out scenes. And that was impressive. I was just a little bit in awe. I had to keep remembering, bring myself back down to earth. And James Whitmore. I wish I'd thought about this before. I'm sure as soon as we say goodnight, I'll think of three more.
We'll have to have you
Three
back.
more people.
Yeah. Well,
the best, I think maybe the best director I ever worked with was Bill Condon in Kinsey. I played a real pervert in Kinsey.
that was a really a challenging role to play someone that dark.
Wow, zowie. And the choice that I had made was that he's meeting Kinsey, so Kinsey can take down his sexual history, and the choice that I made as an actor is that he's thrilled. He's thrilled that he's finally met somebody who's gonna love this stuff as much as he's proud of all of this. Shit. But Condon, I have no idea what it was that he did on the set, but he made it, you wanted to give more. You just kept, he created this safe place where you could expose those things and walk away feeling wonderful about what you had just done.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody's instinct is to pull back and go close off and pull back and try to hide that stuff. And he's done it again and again. There's a reason that Eddie Murphy was nominated for an Academy Award. Again and again and again, he finds a way to bring things out of actors that they didn't even. Sometimes I'm sure they didn't even know was in them.
So much.
Anyway, yeah.
Bill, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing so many stories about so many intimate stories about your process.
Thank you. This has been fun.
And
I missed you guys. It's been
revealing how big a schmucks we were all those years ago working on some of this stuff.
Yeah, that too.
You weren't schmucks. I'm telling you made it. I kept coming to you and you kept saying, well, hey, better is great. It was a collaborative effort and you guys made it possible. So
thanks for saying that.
And
it all starts with the story. I mean, it has to.
Yeah.
We look forward to working with you in the future, frankly.
I think you have my phone number.
Yeah.
I think we do.
Now we do.
Now we do.
Okay.
Again, thank you, Bill, so much, and we'll and thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. The How Not to Make a Movie podcast is executive produced by me, Alan Katz, by Gil Adler, and by Jason Stein. Our art